Today we're here at the Richardson Farm off Glen Road in Belmont, and it's the last working farm in the town, a town that was once known for Belmont-grown products in at the Faneuil Hall Marketplace. So a long history and tradition of farming in this whole area, agriculture being very important and the main, really, reason that Belmont exists. And we're down to the last remaining working farm that's been in operation since the 1600s. It's been perpetually maintained through the Hill and Richardson families and is still owned by descendants of those families that were early settlers to the area. But today we're bringing you up to date by introducing you to what's happening now at Belmont Acres Farm. And so here I have with me Narineh. And she's part of the Chase family, the family now that manages the operations here on a day-to-day basis, and have done so for about 10 years. How many years have you?
Well, my dad was leasing the farm when I was really little, or leasing half of the farm, and then we got the full farm.
Full farm,
yeah.
The full weight of the whole operation. But you've essentially grown up here then. So what's your earliest memories of coming to the site? Like how old, or what was going on at that time?
So I think we were coming here before I was 4, but when I was 4, I think that's probably one of my earliest memories, just like sitting in the field back there, like watching my dad do work. So I've spent pretty much almost all of my summers here.
So you've seen a lot of sort of the growing procedures and behind the scenes look at what really goes on and what it takes to manage this kind of an operation, I'm sure. And you've worked also every summer. So what's your typical day like then, coming to the farm or working here?
So I wake up a lot later than my dad probably would like, but I feel like I get some slack just because like I'm his kid, I guess.
There you go.
But I wake up and then I walk down here or I bike here. My dad picked me up this morning, but I usually walk here because we live about like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing a lot more field work this year. So I pick crops, I weed, I plant things, I help out with the animals, and the primary thing that I do is setting up the farm stand and running the farm stand in the CSA and stuff like that.
Beautiful. Now let's talk a little bit about the farm stand, because I know today's a big day because it's the opening of the Tuesday. This is the first Tuesday sort of time that the farm stand, it's been open, you said, since June on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of crops that have been gone in and out and people come, but today is the first Tuesday farm. So what does that involve?
So we generally do, we sell like less crops on Tuesdays just because like people are less likely to come on
the day
a
of the
Tuesday.
week, yes, probably.
But yeah, we pretty much were selling what we have in our CSAs, the community supported agriculture baskets that we have. So we're pretty much just selling like what's in season for the most part that week, but less so than what we would be selling on a Saturday.
And I know that that you're getting ready to put the products together, open up the stand, and then people come in through the gate off Glen Road, certain hours. What's the today hours for this?
Today is 3:30 to 5:30.
3:30 to 5. So Tuesdays is 3:30 to 5:30 that people from the general public can access the farm and the produce grown here.
Yeah.
So, and then also on Saturdays, the same.
From 2 to 5.
2 to 5. So that's good to know. So anyone who's looking for organically, locally sourced produce can come either on a Tuesday or on a Saturday and take advantage of what's here grown at Belmont Acres and to meet you in person. But let's talk a little bit then about the community sourced agriculture, because that's the larger part, I should say, the larger chunk of what goes on here. And I understand that to be where you buy shares in the farming operations, and that's done through subscriptions. And I'm told that you sign up for that in the winter months in February, and once that's secured, that produce is available for a 20-week season, and that's what's put in the baskets and offered each week. Is that so? Talk about the variety or how that works with the CSA customers.
So the CSA typically has like vegetables that are in season, so it changes pretty much every week. And when you're signing up for a CSA, you need to be aware that, one, it's going to be a lot more vegetables than you're probably used to, and a lot more variety as well, because a lot of farms just grow what customers are interested in, which is like not very diverse produce, but that typically is not very good for the environment or for the soil, and it's not very sustainable. So we have a lot of variety. So for example, we have some disease-resistant crops or drought-resistant crops, which you typically wouldn't find in a grocery store or at like most farms, where they would be putting tomatoes, cucumbers, corn in CSAs. So yeah, there's a lot more diversity. So you need to get a little more creative with your cooking habits.
So you bring up some good points about the community-supported agricultural crops, what it actually yields and how that's grown and decided what's to be grown here. And so what, like you're mentioning, what kind of vegetables would you find here maybe typically that you wouldn't find in the grocery store?
So with a lot of these crops, it's not necessarily that you wouldn't find them in a grocery store, but it's more that like either there would be less of that diversity, or on more large scale farms you wouldn't be finding produce like that, just because for the most part it is a lot more expensive to grow, and you also need to be doing some sort of research to find such crops. So for example, we, like in the spring, we're growing a lot of leafy greens like bok choy and collard greens and kale and chard and stuff like that, which is not a big seller. People are more interested in corn, tomatoes, like cucumbers, stuff like that, which is valid, they're good, but I think it's very important to like open your horizons to other sorts of produce. It's better for your health too. It's not just like whether or not you're picky.
And what I particularly like about the community-supported agricultural model is it really connects the farm with the community. And that's the big caveat, I think, that we all have to understand, meaning that the people who are buying these shares and are getting this fresh produce are allowing small farms like this one to continue in operation within these more and more residential settings. So it really supports the earth, and not only the earth and their health, but also the idea that we have a place that we can get locally grown produce with no chemicals in an environment right in our own backyards. And I think that's a real plus with a farm. Now, I know you say that they get this variety of, so it's put in, I understand, baskets, like a bushel basket, and that's filled. And they serve, I think I looked on your site and it said a family of 4 maybe, perhaps. So each week you can come down and pick up your basket and take home this fresh variety of vegetables and try the different ones out, and then probably 2 adults, 2 children, something like that. But you also have a smaller share. Is that something new at the farm?
Yeah, that's something that is definitely very new. We haven't had that before this season. We have had like fall shares before, so people who were just not here in the summer, they got a CSA in the fall, but we haven't had that for a bit. So I didn't even know that we were doing half shares until a few weeks ago. But there are some people that just like are not able to eat a full share, which my mom jokes we go through at least 2 baskets a week at our house. But if you're getting used to that variety and that volume of vegetables, it is a little bit hard to deal with a full basket.
Or if you have a smaller family.
Exactly.
People that are, have a smaller family. So what's the difference actually in the baskets? Is it the variety? Is it the amount of produce? What would you say is?
It's pretty much the amount. We put the same exact vegetables in all of the shares. There's just slightly less volume. I don't see like a huge difference. I'd say it's more 3/4 of a basket rather than a full one, because we don't like cut vegetables in half or anything.
Exactly.
So we just put a little bit less in than a normal share.
Right. So that's nice because it accommodates both larger families and now, smaller households. But beyond that, you also have the farm stand, which you don't have to be subscribed to take advantage of. And so that's the perk. I know summertime in Belmont, a lot of people are away and on vacation, so maybe not as much traffic as far as comings and goings on Saturdays and Tuesdays. But come fall, it's a beautiful time to be out on the farm, and I know that you have lots of vegetables and farm stand hours also. So is that around September? What's the crops coming in then?
So in September we have a lot more like storage vegetables. We have carrots. I mean, we have these things in the summer as well to a certain extent, but we have carrots, potatoes, onions, squash, edible pumpkins,
wonderful.
sometimes beets, like different types of different types of peppers. We sometimes have tomatoes like in the very, very early stages of September. And yeah, there are summer varieties of certain vegetables. Like there's a variety of summer carrot that we grow, and then there's also like a fall carrot. So those have kind of different flavor profiles. And we definitely, I'd say I prefer fall vegetables, and we have a lot more variety in the fall as well.
Yeah, so that's great. So people that are watching can look forward to that. If you have been away all summer and are just returning back from vacation in Belmont, don't forget to stop and check out Belmont Acres Farm Stand. Still will be open on a Tuesday and Saturday schedule, or
most likely just on Saturdays because I will be in school. So
so they're losing their help. But okay, so Saturdays people can come down between the certain hours and come in the front gate and take a look at what's here to offer. And I think that runs until sometime in November. Is that when the growing season finishes, or how does that work? When do you put the farm to bed, so to speak, or do you do that?
So we typically go until November. The CSA ends October 31st.
Okay. Yeah.
But the farm stand continues at least until the end of November. We've had farm stand until middle of December sometimes.
Wow,
there have been multiple times where my dad will go out on Christmas and pick vegetables for us that are still in the field.
Amazing.
So it really depends on whether there's a frost or not, and we always have a lot of storage vegetables that are going to last, and they'll go to waste otherwise if we don't sell them. So we have a lot of potatoes and squash in the barn. So like as the winter progresses, we do have less variety, but we still have some basic things. Yeah.
So you have just a little bit of a time off, and then start again in the early spring, I imagine.
Yeah, and like my dad doesn't have any time off. He's working with the animals, and he's growing stuff in the hoop house and things like that, preparing for the spring. I get time off, but
you get
he
time
doesn't.
off. Yeah, no, a lot going on here is correct. And the winter months is when you're opening up the shares. So that's when you sign up typically for the community-supported agricultural phase, and you can do that online, I think, and we'll leave the website. I think it's belmontacresfarms.com.
Yes, yeah.
And you can find out more about the farm on their page, about us. I think they have a whole section of recipes. So if you're stuck with those vegetables that aren't typical in your grocery store shopping carts, and you find them here on the farm organically grown and you want to try them out, they have tips and a whole drop down of vegetables that have been submitted and tested and people have posted that you can take advantage of trying on that. So that's also, and I understand there's a newsletter as well that you can sign up for. Okay.
Yeah, so the newsletter that comes out like once a week, and it has updates on what has been going on, like weather-wise, and also what vegetables we have available that week.
So I know it's not a major focus on the farm, but I noticed walking around there are some resident animals here, and you have sheep, at least one goat, some ducks, and chickens in the houses over there. So what role, if any, do they play?
So the one goat that we have has been my friend since I was like 5. She was born on the farm, so I've spent 13 years with her now. Almost 14, so
amazing.
Yeah, and she's a pet. The sheep are pets. They just graze and kind of do their own thing. My dad jokes that he got them for my dog because she's a border collie.
Oh yes, there's a border collie here as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
It's the sheep. Yes.
And for the rest of the animals, the chickens and the ducks, they are also pets, but we sell their eggs. However, something that a lot of people don't realize is birds need like very specific like temperature and like weather situations or conditions in order for them to be able to lay eggs. So in the summer, if there's a heat wave, we get like no eggs. If it gets too cold, we have no eggs. So it really fluctuates. In the spring, we have a decent amount of eggs, but we're not even really open yet. So yeah, we sell eggs, but it really
depends.
The amount that we have fluctuates.
Yeah. So the animals are included here, but not the major feature.
Yeah.
And last thing as we wrap up, it's amazing to me that the farm is maintained. This amount of work and acreage falls to just a handful of dedicated people that do that. Your father being, of course, top on that list, but just a few staff, paid staff, and even less volunteers who actually manage this beautiful setting that we're at. So unbelievable that you've had this experience in your growing up history and so become so much part of the history of Belmont in farming. So thank you so much for taking your time to speak with us today about Belmont Acres, and I hope that locals will come down here and explore and check it out, particularly on now we can access on Tuesdays, but also on Saturdays coming up, and in the fall, glorious time to be here on site. And so thank you for joining us here at Belmont Acres Farm. All right, well here I'm sitting alongside Henry Ogilby, and his family is responsible actually for, has owned this land through many generations, and in 2002 placed a conservation restriction and a farmland restriction, both one held locally by the Belmont Land Trust and the other nationally by the American Farmland Trust. And so that ensures that this acreage will be in perpetuity devoted to agriculture. So what an absolute treasure and a gift to really the community made by your family. So thank you for doing that. It's a wonderful donation to our landscape, to a town that really was birthed out of farming and agriculture, and that's really the history. But I see you're holding a picture, so talk to us about what we're looking at here.
Hi everybody. I just wanted you to know that this farm makes me happy. And this farm was actually farmed by my great-grandfather, and here is a photo of what it looked like in 1905, believe it or not. And it was called a market garden. And he would take his wagon out of the barn and he would fill the wagon full of vegetables, and he would actually drive the wagon from Belmont to Faneuil Hall where the produce was sold. And there were a lot of other people in the town that were doing the same thing. But to me, it's very special that we still have this farm and this wonderful place, Belmont Acres, and we have the history. And this farm is its own historic district in the town of Belmont, just so everyone knows. and it's very, very important place to me, and hopefully important to everyone in the town. And I want them to know that they're always welcome here. There are wonderful things to see, wonderful things to eat too. So please come. Thank you.
Yes, and with that, I want to say, great photo of showing the old history, and many of the crops then were grown in what we call glass houses or under glass, and that was actually a method that you were describing where you see the chimney in the original, and we see today on the barn the same chimney because they were heated by boilers to keep the temperature even throughout the winter months. And that was really done to extend the growing season so that they could compete with the southern markets. But Belmont has, like you're mentioning, a long history of farms. And as you mentioned, your grandfather, one of the many, in around 1876, I think there were 76 farms in Belmont. And not just vegetables, we had piggeries and fancy sheep and cattle, and so there's a lot of agricultural, you're saying, history on the land that it's exciting that we've retained this small piece of it thanks to the family. So I agree, it's something that everyone should come down and take a visit, Belmont Acres, and you can find more information about that on the website, and hopefully we'll see you in the fall.
I'll be here.